talk all the time about how you need more than just a logo. You need to have colors, you need to have fonts, blah, 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 blah. It's all Jacqui talks about. But do you know that you also need more than just a logo for your logo? You need variations for your logo. Oftentimes we see a logo and we think, cool, there's a logo, or we buy a logo or we create a logo and we think, great, I've done my logo, it's all done. But actually to have a versatile, professional and logo that's going to actually stand the test of time, we need what's called variations of this logo. We need different sorts and layouts of our logo to suit us across all the different needs that our business is going to have both now and ongoing. So in this episode, I want to chat you through what logo variations you need for your business. If you're watching the video version, I'll have a couple of examples showing up as well. And I want to let you know, if you stay listening to the end of this episode, I'm going to give you a special code word, which you will never guess, that if you DM me on Instagram, it will give you $200 off working with me in my program. So just stay tuned for that. All right, let's dive in. So hi, if we haven't met before, my name is Jacqui and I'm a graphic designer who loves teaching business owners how they can create their own incredible brand and graphics. I have a studio side of my business and I have an education side of my business. And obviously today I really want to educate you on what you need for your business to make sure that it actually thrives, in particularly with your logo. So usually I don't have to convince people that getting a logo is a worthwhile investment, that actually spending time, whether it's spending time creating a logo and learning how to do that properly, or whether that's hiring someone to do that for you, whatever it is, most people agree, yeah, I need a logo. But there's so much more to a logo than just a logo. Obviously, there's a thinking and strategy behind it, which I've spoken about 1,000 other times before. But today I want to talk to you about the actual practicalities you need for your final logo files. And so let's go through the list now. So first up, there's your main logo. The main logo is the one that you're used to seeing for most businesses at most times. For me, I've got a deer head with the words white deer underneath. That is my main logo. That's the logo that I like default to when I'm trying to use a logo. But that's not the only logo that my brand has, nor is it the only logo that your brand needs to have. And I want to step you through lots of those other variations. So firstly, practically, we need to think about the space that we have. Sometimes for me and for the example that I'm sharing on the screen at the moment, there's a really beautiful logo, but it's a particular size, and that size might not fit into all the different needs you might have. You might need a long version for a letterhead, or you might need a really small version for your Instagram display picture, or you might need a really plain version for a T-shirt design. Whatever it is, you often need different layouts and variations of your logo to actually suit the different needs. And so I always recommend that if your logo, the main way that it looks is quite square, then creating a longer version of that logo, or if your version of your logo is quite long already, creating what we call a more square or a stacked version. So this might mean, for example, if you're trying to picture this, if you're on the podcast, if you have some text that says Island Village, and you want to have that as a logo, maybe for your stacked version, you have the word island on top of the word village, and you might have your icon either on top of that or next to that, somewhere in that space. But you also might want to have a version of your logo that has island and village next to each other. So it's more of that long format where the words are flowing after each other, and maybe the icon, instead of sitting on top of that, is sitting next to it or in the middle of those things. And so just creating like a different length version of your logo will mean it's going to fit into the different places you need to fit it in more practically. So if you're designing your logo in Canva, for example, I want you to make sure that if you've got more than one word and you've got an icon, I'll talk about icons in a moment, then you're having versions where you've got your words stacked on top of each other and maybe the logo or the icon on top of that. And you've also got versions where the text is all quite long and narrow, and the icon is next to those things and sitting next to it, making it even longer rather than taller. Trust me, you're going to thank me when next time you're trying to do like a workbook design, you're like, my logo is just too high to go in this footer down here. Oh wait, I'll use a long horizontal version of my logo, or I need to fit this logo in a letterhead or at the top of my website banner, or yada, yada, yada. You have that long version. We also want what's called an icon or a brand mark. Now, not all businesses will have an icon in their actual logo. For example, some businesses just have what we call a word mark. So just text. They just have cool looking text as their logo. That's totally okay and a totally viable form and way of doing a logo. But you also might have an icon. If you have an icon version of your logo, or you have an icon in your logo, this is a really easy way to have an icon that you can just use separately for your business. So in the example I've got on the screen, for those of you on YouTube, you'll see that's kind of like a little wavy pattern for the island village. And that's a really great icon and brand mark that she can now use. This is for a client. Her name is Ali, and you can find her on Island Village on all the platforms. But pretty much that icon is now able to be used in separately from her logo when needed. So having a brand mark or an icon can be so useful for things like what we call the favicon. So when you're on your website, you notice that if you open up any website, when you're like at the start of the little tab, there's like a little G for Google, or there's like a little blue C in like a blue circle with a C in it for Canva, or a little like red box with a triangle in it for YouTube. These are called favicons, and these are the little icons that appear on your website. You want to have something for that, and you could just do like your logo, but that's going to be too small to be able to be seen. So having an icon is a really great way to do this. You could also, if you want to, create what's called a submark of your logo. So if you've only got a Word version of your logo, so just text, and you don't want to also create an icon, which you could totally do. You can create an icon that's not even used necessarily in your main logo, but you still have it as a variation of your brand. Or you could have what we call a submark. You might have a version that's just different letters of your name. So for this one, we had Island Village, we had is.v, and that's kind of like her little submark. Or for my business, I could do a W and a D, like for white deer, designed in a really cool kind of different way. And so that could be your different kind of icon if you wanted to do something simpler and not create a different illustration kind of image-based icon for your business. And so having that, whatever that is, that brand mark, whether that's the icon from your logo or like a word mark where it's kind of more of an abbreviated form of your logo, having that is really, really helpful for when you just need your logo in a really small format, whether that's the favicon, whether that's a display picture for your Instagram if you're not using a photo of yourself, or if it's even just like a little like watermark at the bottom of your social media post, or a little reference to your logo at the bottom of a workbook or a presentation slides, or something where you can use it in place where your full logo isn't needed because people usually know who you are already. But it's just a little reference, a little head nod to your brand, to your business, to help, again, build that recognizability for your business. Another version of your logo that you might want is one with a tagline. People are always like, oh, should I have my tagline on my logo? I'm like, you can have both. Like, you know, the ad that's like, why not have both? Have both. You want a version that doesn't have a tagline, and you want a version that does have a tagline. Having a tagline on your logo just means that if you're ever presenting yourself in a brand new spot, or you're wanting to just like whack your logo really quickly onto like at the front of a workbook or something, you can just whack it there, and it kind of, it's telling a story of your business. It's got a tagline there. It's explaining what you do. It's all right there. But a lot of the time, the tagline is actually going to be too small for what you need. So say, for example, if I was putting a logo onto a business card really small in the corner somewhere, having a tagline there would be impossible to read. So I need to make sure I have a variation of my logo that doesn't have a tagline on it. So I have that flexibility. And that's the biggest point I want to represent here, is that your logo needs to be flexible. It needs to be visible, really, really small, and it needs to be visible really, really large. And sometimes you'll need to actually have variation of your logo that is visible small, and one that's visible large. So one that has a tagline, one that has readable text. And so just always thinking about, what are all the situations I might need this logo for into the future? And how can I make sure it works and is versatile for all those uses? Because there is nothing worse than sitting down and designing a logo or getting a logo designed, then realizing 3 years down the track that you don't have a variation you need for this and this and this. And you need to either go back to the drawing board again and go through and save all your files and do all that process, or hire someone to do that for you. And so thinking through, making sure that not only do you have all these variations, also there's that piece of, do I have a version of my logo that actually works in the different situations? Is it readable when it's really, really small on a business card? Does it look fine if it was stretched to the size of a truck? Because we might need both of those variations in our business. Having a logo that's versatile is important. So having that tagline is really great, but having a version without your tagline is also really important. So you want to have the main logo. You also want to have those different variations of the logo in terms of layout. So your vertical layout or your stacked layout. You want to have an icon or a brand mark, and you want to have a version with your tagline. You could even just have a version too. If you've got an icon, you could have a version with just your text. So you've got that variation if you need to have something with just your text and you need it more plain. Beyond this, I'm still going. There are also color variations. Again, people ask me like, what's the best color combination? And I'm like, you don't have to choose just one. You might choose a main color combination that you use. For example, for me, it might be purple, but I also can use my logo in white. I can use it in black. I can use it in blue, depending on the situation and where it's actually ending up in its final use for that particular moment. And so for your business, you need to make sure that you have a logo that's also available in different colors. So making sure you have a black version, making sure you have a white version. And sometimes you'll need to tweak your logo to make it actually work in all black or make it actually work in all white. For example, I was working on a client's logo yesterday and they have some paint strokes on their logo. We wanted those paint strokes are colorful and their text is white, and to make all of those paint strokes black And then I made the text white/see-through so that it's actually able to be used as a watermark on things. And we can also use that black version as a white version. And that way we can overlay it onto photos, or we can have it really small and it's still really clear. And so having a black version, a white version, and then if you want to, you can have your logo in different color combinations from your actual brand. I recommend using one most of the time so you build some consistency, but don't be afraid that, I actually really like an orange version, that you can actually occasionally use that orange version when the need arises. And so having those different variations in color is also okay, as long as it's obviously focused on your brand colors. You're not just bringing in a random left of field color that you're never using in your brand. But if you're using a color that's part of your brand kit and your brand style, then that's actually going to help to give you flexibility for your business. And we also need to make sure that our logo looks good on different kinds of backgrounds. So you might have a full color version that looks great on white, but you also need a version that looks great on a darker color background. Do you need to flip your colors a little bit and use all the lighter colors in your color palette to create your logo as a variation that's good on those darker colors? Maybe for me, for example, I might want a purple background instead of a purple logo. And so what colors can I use on my logo to make my purple background logo look good? Because I obviously don't want to use a purple logo on a purple background because it won't be visible. I just wanted to interrupt for a moment to say that if you're enjoying this episode, I would love to invite you to my free 3-part video training to help you to create your own stunning visual brand, helping you to grow your business faster and to feel and look $1 million. If you're ready for the best year of business yet, then join over 1,000 business owners who have already taken part in the challenge to get started on creating your own brand. Join us today at whitedeer.com.au/challenge. That's the color white, the animal deer.com.au/challenge. Cannot wait to see you there. Let's get back to the episode. The thing I won't go into on this episode because it's just far too hard to share is just file types. You need to make sure you also have a range of file types available for your logo. You want to make sure you have a vector format, which is a whole thing to go into with vector files. And you also want to make sure you have transparent formats and small file formats and large file formats. I teach you how to save all of these things inside my program, DIY Design My Biz. If you want to learn more about that, wait to the end and I'll give you that special code. But just make sure that if you're hiring a designer as well, that they're giving you a few different file formats so that you can actually have the flexibility to use it on different platforms and different programs and it actually still work. So if you are wanting to create your own brand and you're wanting to create your own logo, or you're wanting to be like, actually, I've only got one version of my logo and I really need to create some variations here. I made it in Canva, but now it's not really feeling flexible for me. I have a program called DIY Design My Biz, and it is a course designed just for small business owners. I didn't design this for other designers, although I do have plenty that join because I still want to upskill. But it's designed for business owners to be a really, really user-friendly, easeful way to learn how to create your brand, but not only how to create it, but the best practices around that and how to actually save those final files. You can get feedback from me and the team around what your actual designs look like. And then beyond creating your brand, we have so many people that join that have already got a brand, and they're actually learning to create and use design principles and design strategies so they can create really great and strategic social media posts and flyers and presentations and all those different things. So we teach you from all the way from creating your brand through to design principles, through to actually putting all of your designs out into the world so you have a really robust and successful business that isn't overwhelming, isn't taking you hours and hours and hours in Canva, and you can get support and feedback on. So if you would like to join that, this is what you need to do. It's a bit funky, and when I'm posting this video, I will be on maternity leave, so please give me a couple of moments. But if you DM me the word secret squirrel, so the words secret squirrel, the word secret and the word squirrel into my DMs, then I will send you a special link to get $200 off that program. I would love, love, love to have you. And this is a program we've had over 300 students go through. And I know that it works. I know that it's robust. I know that it's going to help you. If you're not in the budget to be able to pay a few $1,000s ongoing for a graphic designer to not only work on your brand, but also all of your ongoing graphics, DIY Design My Biz is perfect for you. And it comes with a year's worth of support plus lifetime access to the program. So not only helping you create your brand, doing that robustly and really well, making sure you're not stepping on any toes, making sure you're doing it all legally, making sure that the effort you put in is actually going to pay off and that the strategy behind it is robust, and we can do all of that together with you, plus those ongoing graphics too. So DM me Secret Squirrel and I will send you the link to $200 off. If you want to DM me, my handle is whitedeergd, so the animal white, the color deer, and the letters G and D. And I will get back to you over the coming days with a special link for that. So thank you for joining me for this episode. If you found that useful, make sure you hit that subscribe and that bell button. I am always sharing incredible content for your business and for your brand. And if you're on the podcast, make sure that you hit subscribe as well. And feel free to leave a review. I would love to know your thoughts, and it also helps more people find the podcast and be served by its content. So thanks for joining me, and I will see you next week for a new episode. Bye.